With it being 6:30 on Thursday, June 20th, 2019, I will call this meeting of the Webster School Committee to order and ask that we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. So before I continue with the agenda, I just want to state publicly that this meeting is being recorded, both video and audio, and I just want to thank everybody in the room this evening for their flexibility. Originally, the meeting was scheduled for next Tuesday. Unfortunately, we would not have a quorum that evening, so I do appreciate everybody's flexibility in rescheduling for this evening. First item on the agenda, I will entertain a motion to enter into executive session according to Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 23B, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual and to reconvene in open session.
So moves.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Laurie, would you poll the committee, please?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So again, we will enter into executive session and return to open session. And we have returned back to open session, continuing with this evening's agenda. The next item on the agenda, I will entertain a motion to approve our June 11, 2019 minutes.
Moved. Second.
There is a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Laurie, would you poll the committee, please?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Good evening, Dr. Gogan.
Good evening. How is everyone?
Good, how are you?
I'm very well. It's only been a week since we last met, so I have a short report. I would like to reiterate that we've had a great year and thank everyone, all of our employees, for putting their best foot forward on behalf of the students that we serve in Webster. Step-up days were very successful at all of our schools. I had the opportunity to be over at Park Avenue School and hear Mr. Zajac cheering on our fourth graders and getting them ready to come over to the middle school. I also had the opportunity to attend the Park Avenue Art Show, which was absolutely wonderful. The artwork was amazing. Since I've last met with you, I've been working with Mafre Foundation, Linda Johnson, and had a meeting with Head Start, Carrie Brennan, and Ellen Ganley. We're beginning to think about ways to apply for a Foundation Mafre grant to work on nutritional programs, educational programs, health programs, specifically aligned to Head Start and kindergarten and first grade. So we came up with a lot of different ideas that we will be pushing forward to the foundation to see if they'll sponsor us. One of those ideas had to do with some more parent outreach and working on transitions with families. So there'll be some more information on that. I also am in the discussion phases with having, it's called the Real Madrid Foundation. This is again through the Mafre. They do a sports program, a soccer training program for high-risk kids. They're using it over in Lawrence, and I'm in the beginning phases of learning more about that. They'd like to see if we would like to have that program here. I'm also pleased to let you know that our school community liaison, Mrs. Margarita Nieves, she did a great job this year. She did a lot of one-on-one outreach with our second language learner families, made personal connections with each of those families through the phone, and gathered some information that I think is very helpful as we move forward. She did put together a list of areas for us to work on in terms of improving our communication and our outreach. That has been shared with the building principals, and we will be discussing that over the summer in our summits on ways to help strengthen that bridge. I am also pleased to let you know that the Educators Council, the Superintendent's Educators Council, has met 3 times, and they decided to end the year with a nice little celebration. A group of us were at the Bravehearts on Monday night, and Gina Neves was recommended as the Bartlett representative teacher, and she was out on first base coaching for a semester. They call it an inning a semester. That would be a long time. And it was a fun way to end the year. It was a beautiful night. This past week, and Monique and I have been working with the principals. We've been doing some building walkthroughs, looking and discussing some room changes. There's some definite room changes that are going to be happening over at the middle school. We're pleased about that. You also walked through today with Park Ave, so we're in the midst of figuring those things out. Summer's a very busy time, and we want to have our schools ready for August, and there are some changes that will be made. We'll keep you abreast of that. I do have some personnel updates. I've been screening for an interim Bartlett High School principal, and I've met with 5 different candidates, mostly candidates that are retired looking to do a 1 year and done. There's one candidate that has stood out that's interested in starting as an interim but staying longer, and I am calling that candidate back to meet with the Bartlett High School administrative team on Monday, and we'll go from there. We've had some transfers over at the middle school. Julie O'Connor is transferring from the 7th and 8th grade science to 7th grade science. Russell Holden is transferring from the 7th grade science to the 7th and 8th grade science position. Donna Conover is moving from the 5th and 6th grade inclusion and special education to the 6th grade inclusion. And George Newton is moving from the 7th and 8th grade inclusion to the 5th and 6th grade inclusion. And Rhonda Franek, has requested to move from Park Avenue Elementary School, grade 3, over to the special education position over at the middle school, and we have honored that request. We have one new hire. Mr. Michael Scott is our new full-time custodian, who will be starting soon over at Park Ave. And very briefly on other updates, I am meeting on Monday with Senator Fatman, Representative McKenna, and Mr. Robert to continue our discussion about the college program, feeder program that I've been talking to you about. We're really looking to have legislative support for that. I am pleased to say that some of our students will be singing the national anthem this Saturday at Indian Ranch, so if you live on the lake, maybe you'll be able to hear them.
And you're having a party for everybody.
Yeah. And the Attorney General's office has put out a new violence prevention and mental health training program. I'll be talking to that coordinator on Monday. This is a free training program. I'm going to see if we can get hitched up with that. And I would like to give a shout out to Becky Zunicki and Janice Daniels and the high school team. The Bartlett High School turnaround plan has really turned out very well, has been officially submitted. Part of that plan included some adjustments to the scheduling. That's still a work in progress. Today we had a lengthy meeting, some guidance staff, some representatives from the music and band, the middle school principal, the curriculum folks, to sort of take a look at what they're trying to do. They've put a lot of work into that, so there'll be some more conversations about that. One of the reasons we wanted to meet today was we were trying to be efficient and effective. We were trying to see if there was any way that we could take the 0.5 foreign language position at the middle school and the 0.5 position at the high school and make it a 1.0 and shift a person between the schedules. On the glance today, it really doesn't look hopeful, but we did give it a look. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, we will continue with the superintendent's report. The next item is the business manager report. Good evening, Mrs. Perangeli.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much. First item is my FY19 budget update and closeout. We are very active in the business office at this time of year, working on closing out the budget. I'm happy to say we just ran our final teacher's payroll, and there's actually still funds left in the budget, so that's always a positive. Literally. Get us through the end of the year, so we're happy we're closing out on a positive note. I'm not going to, we're looking, there's still a lot of stuff moving at this time of year. We're trying to get a list together of all of our outstanding invoices and things that we can expect in, encumbering all of that stuff to make sure that we have funds encumbered in case it rolls over into the next year. So we're just really busy getting through this. I appreciate my assistant Cheryl very much. She's doing a fantastic job in the office. She's really settled into that role. So, we did see some significant savings again this year in utilities. So I'm happy about that. We made some adjustments moving forward for next year. We did reduce those funds some, but I still kept a little bit extra in there, which I'm glad I did. A couple of our bids are up for utilities, electricity, and I just met with our contractor this week and locked in some new pricing, and it's going to add about $15,000. It's gone up a little bit, but it's still very competitive. So, I'm encouraged about that. We're still seeing some savings, so I will keep the committee informed as we move through the budget closeout process. I do know there are going to be some deficits in transportation that the town is seeking some help for, so I'm thinking that we'll be able to assist some with that. But I'll bring that back to the committee at our next meeting. I'll keep you informed of that. The next item on my agenda is the FY20 budget. So along with closing out the 19 budget, it's exciting times in the business office, I'll tell you. We have opened up our FY20 budget. So we are now ordering and preparing for next year. Everything's in line. I will say that with the FY20, I'm going to start making moves a little more proactively now, once the budget and once staffing is set. You know, we've kind of been hesitant to move money. We know that roles shift, people move grades, and salaries change, and the money's there. But it's just easier to make those changes and track during the year right up front for budgeting, so that way when you guys see a budget in the first quarter, it's truly reflecting what's in that grade level at that time. So I'm gonna be active in doing that at the beginning of the year, jumping off on a quick start versus just letting it ride. But we are up and running for FY20, and I'm looking forward to a really good FY20 budget season. Any questions on the FY20 budget? Sure.
Not yet.
All right. Next item on the agenda is our summer meals program. I have the famous Miss Nyland here. She's pretty popular with the kids at the schools and pretty popular with me also. She is going to be talking about some summer programming that we're going to have on. So thank you, Ellen, for showing up here, talking about that.
So this really is exciting. It really is. So I would say with the support of superintendent, business manager, Mrs. Daniels, a whole bunch of people, this summer actually moving forward on adding community sites to summer meals, which is really what summer meals is supposed to be. The whole idea of the flexibility of the program is feed the kids where they are. So we do well in our building-based programs, but this year we just, feet first, said, okay, we're going to add 3 new sites. So tonight, actually, Hoops for Hope starts our very first summer meal. They are serving it as we speak. So we're doing the meals 2 days a week for the camp over at Park Ave, and the police are going to continue to do it on Saturday. Very exciting, and they've been great to partner with. The second new site is North Village, which will be 2 days a week. We did a one-off last year over there, and we had a great turnout, and we've been talking about doing that for a little while. The third new site is the library, working with the youth librarian on Fridays. And then Head Start is not a summer site, but we will continue to do meals for Head Start as well. So I'm super excited about all these community partnerships and to see how they go and see, you know, if we can reach more kids, basically. Last year, we served almost 5,000 meals, so it's about 200 meals a day. And we actually made a little profit last year, which is really nice to do. We usually shoot for 0, but a little profit is good, which I attribute to adding breakfast and also just really inventorying what we have. We spent a couple of days doing that, but we don't actually have to buy that much food. And what we do buy is like good, fresh, local produce. So that's kind of where I'm concentrating. All the marketing materials and all that stuff will be coming out next week. All the customized stuff that we do that lists all our sites. And so you'll be starting to see that next week. The program starts before July 4th this year, which was kind of like, So Bartlett and Park Ave start on the 1st, and then the middle school and all the community sites, with the exception of Hoops for Hope, Hope for Hoops, start on the 8th, basically. We have a great staff, returning manager and cook who've really got this down, and I think they can absorb these extra meals actually pretty easily. And then 2 kind of long-time cafeteria workers, but who have not worked in the summer program, will be working as the servers this summer. So super excited to see how it goes this summer.
Thank you, Ellen.
Any
So
questions?
that concludes my report, unless anybody has any questions for Ellen.
Mr. Shanover.
Not really a question, just a big thank you and good job. I've seen a lot lately about some of the local communities surrounding us. They're in full-blown scramble mode now, trying to figure out ways to get food to their kids during the summer. So to have programs like this in full swing and taking care of our kids all summer long is a source of pride. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I believe Oxford just started with one, and I know she approached me last year, the food service director about that. So that's nice also. Southbridge has pretty extensive summer meals sites, but, you know, when other districts see, oh, we could do it too, you know, that's nice also. So thank you.
And I just want to thank all the staff, all the cafeteria staff.
Yeah.
They are awesome.
They are.
You know, they are really excited. They jump in, they go above and beyond. They were thrilled. I met with them, some of them today. I went over to see Marcy, who was cooking in the kitchen the other day. And they're just so energized about serving food and feeling like they're really helping the kids in Webster. So we just thank them so much for that. We appreciate all their hard work. And I appreciate your work, Ellen. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, thank you very much. Continuing on with the agenda, the next item under old business is the superintendent evaluation. As many of you know, and perhaps a little summary for the folks that might be watching, one of the main roles of any school committee is to hire and annually evaluate the superintendent. It's never easy for anybody to be evaluated publicly, but that is the joy that every superintendent in the Commonwealth gets to experience. I do want to again thank my colleagues on the committee. As I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, this meeting was supposed to be held next Tuesday, but due to scheduling conflicts, it was moved up. And I do appreciate everybody getting their evaluations done on time. These are not easy necessarily for us who aren't used to what seems to be a relatively complex and at times unnecessarily burdensome evaluation tool, but it is what it is. And so throughout the entire year, I think Dr. Gogan and her team obviously share a lot of information with us as evidence of what is going on in the district. And then at our last meeting, Dr. Gogan spent quite a bit of time and shared with us quite a bit of detail of the evidence that we utilized to base our individual assessments of her. So each school committee member evaluates the superintendent. What we have done historically in this district, and we did again this year, was to put all of those 5 evaluations into one summary document. My intent this evening is to quickly review the final findings from the summary documents. Obviously, if the members disagree with that process, they can let me know. And certainly there will be opportunity at the end for members to share any thoughts that they want to add based on the evaluations that they completed. So in the evaluation, the first step is for each one of the members to assess progress towards goals. And the evaluation tool breaks it down into professional practice goals, student learning goals, and district improvement goals. For professional practice goals, 2 of the members felt that the superintendent met those goals, and 3 felt that she exceeded those goals. For the student learning goals, 4 of the members felt that she met the goals and 1 felt that she exceeded the goals. And for the district improvement goals, 4 members felt that she met the goals and 1 exceeded. And again, I think looking back when the goals were formed, I think they were very relatively aggressive goals, and the fact that all of us felt that for all of the goals that were presented were either met or exceeded certainly is indicative of the work that I know the team is doing, because I know it's not just one individual. The next item is step 2. We are asked to assess the superintendent's performance on standards, and there are 4 standards that are listed for us: instructional leadership, management and operations, family and community engagement, and professional culture. As I kind of jokingly said at the beginning of this presentation, this process is very complicated, and we have a complex rubric that I think is helpful that we are to use. So again, for those that might be watching, it's not just any of us looking at an indicator within a standard and kind of taking a guess what that might be. We're giving very detailed information as far as what each of those indicators are and also what each ranking means. And I do want to give some definitions because some of the terms that are used, and is this the same form that's used for everybody? I say this every year, I think, and I remember my predecessor said the same thing. They're just not the right terms, because one of them is the term proficient. And when most of us hear the word proficient, we think average, we think decent, we think it's okay. But in reality, the definition in the DESI survey process is proficient practice is understood to be fully satisfactory. This is the rigorous expected level of performance. I paraphrase that as a very, very high level of performance. And an exemplary is a rating of exemplary indicates that practice significantly exceeds proficient and could serve as a model of practice regionally or statewide. So in looking at the 4 standards, and again, I'm not going to go through the detail of every single indicator within the standard. Once approved, these are public documents. But for standard number 1, which is instructional leadership, all 5 of us felt that ranked the superintendent as proficient in that standard. For standard number 2, which is management and operations, 3 members ranked the superintendent as proficient, and 2 ranked her as exemplary. Under standard number 3, family and community engagement, 2 members ranked proficient, and 3 ranked her as exemplary. And in the 4th standard, professional culture, 4 members ranked her as proficient, and 1 ranked her as exemplary. Continuing on with the evaluation process, the final step, actually the third step, is to rate the overall summative performance based on step 1s and 2s. So what we're asked to do is look at how did we rank the superintendent or believe that she did with regards to the goals that were set, and then based on all of the 4 standards that are identified, come up with a final ranking for the superintendent. 3 of the members ranked Dr. Gogan as proficient, and 2 of the members ranked her as exemplary. There is a step 4, and it's rate on student learning. 2 of the members rated it as moderate, 2 rated it as high, and 1 member, I just didn't provide a rating, so I don't want people to think I forgot about somebody. So again, that was my intent as far as the formal aspect. There's a lot of information. What we are asked to do as members is for each standard as well as the final summary to provide comments, which most of us did. And so I will open it up to my colleagues on the committee if they wanted to. Oh, I apologize. Actually, before I do that, I just said I won't read any comments. However, I did speak to Mrs. Blythe prior to the meeting. Unfortunately, she did have a scheduling conflict, and she did ask me to read what she wrote in her evaluation under the evaluator comments. So these are the words of Mrs. Blythe. Dr. Gogan has worked tirelessly this past year by creating solid relationships with community partners and families. She has continued to support teachers and ensure they have research-based curriculum resources and professional development support. Her commitment to modeling professionalism and continued collaboration among her team have contributed to a stronger district. While the district has work to do, her successes around moving forward should be celebrated. So again, those are the words of Mrs. Blythe. So I do open it up to my colleagues on the committee if they wish to offer any further comments at this time.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Schoenberg.
Dr. Gogan, first of all, I'd just like to say thank you for all your hard work this year. The one thing that stood out the most, I should say, for me was your outreach to the community and all the, not only just the events, but the new partnerships with North Village and other things really stand out, especially to the lack of that we've had in the past. So for that in particular, that stood out for me, and I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I think something that stood out in addition to the community partnerships is I really appreciated how much information you share with us at these meetings, particularly the professional development that happens in the district. I think it's so important for us to know what's going on, to keep our finger on the pulse, but if the community were interested to hear that information, you put it out there, and the community should be interested to hear all that's going on in the district in that regard. I know that people don't like to talk about MCAS and data. You know, I love it. And I have said this in the have said this earlier in this year after the results were shared, that we have finally moved. It's not substantial. We have a long ways to go, but I've been a parent for 10 years in this district, and it moved. And I've been waiting for that.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from the members?
Mr. Chair.
Mrs. Siddiqui?
I wholeheartedly agree with Brian and Kathy's comments. You know, the community outreach has been more than I could have imagined, and I was really passionate about reaching families and community members and strengthening that homeschool connection, and it really exceeded what I would have hoped that we could have achieved. The newsletters in 2 languages, they're happening every week. We can count on them coming to us, and just the amount of information that's shared with us as a committee is immense. And, you know, I just can't express my gratitude enough for all of those things. And as a parent of a child who's only been in the district for a couple of years, I was looking at the scores and was really worried, you know, about remaining in Webster and having my children educated in this district, knowing, okay, if scores are low, but we're headed in the right direction, that's something. But they weren't moving, and they are, and they're moving in the right direction. So I think there's a lot to be proud of. And I guess just the final piece has to do with the pride and with the kindness matters. And it's become the mantra, and it's become something that we all can be proud of. So I really appreciate your commitment to the community and to just acknowledging the many strengths that we do have in Webster. So thank you.
And Mrs. Siddiqui just pointed out that we all failed the test because we didn't wear our.
I have more.
So I will just try to be brief, which is sometimes difficult for me. You know, I look back at 2.5 years ago, and it's interesting, you know, Mr. Shenevert and I were the only 2 members at the time when we were looking for a new superintendent. And certainly, I don't want to speak for anyone else on the committee, but from my perspective, and I've shared these with you privately, I sometimes get very frustrated at the lack of change, and coming from the private sector, you know, things move much more quickly. And when you have highly bureaucratic organizations, and I understand, and we're dealing with children, and children are complex, and their needs are difficult, and their issues are challenging, and they can change from day to day. But what I was looking for personally back then was somebody who and I think I might have even used this phrase last year, would classify as a change agent. That we really needed somebody to come in and have the ability and the determination and the chutzpah to take what is really difficult, and that is try to get folks to change. None of us like change, but the reality was when you took over the district, and I don't like to share our dirty laundry publicly most of the time, but I think it's important. We had, you know, some of the lowest test scores in the entire state. We had the worst graduation rate in Central Mass. We had the worst dropout rate in Central Mass. And although that doesn't mean people aren't working hard, that's the reality. And to follow up with Mrs. Naparata, I don't like MCAS. I don't believe that it's an adequate reflection of the education our children are getting, but it's the world we live in. And it's not only how the state assesses us, but it's how the community, most people in the community, assess us. It's not fair, but it's reality. So looking back or forward 2.5 years, again, I think that a lot has been accomplished, especially in the area of curriculum. That's, you know, as I said to you privately, when you first came in and an issue was identified and a plan was put in place and it was actually implemented, I was screaming in my head thinking, finally, we've implemented what needs to be implemented. So do we have challenges? Absolutely. As I indicated in my evaluation, I am still very concerned about the educational environment. You know, I separate things by the education and the educational environment within each building. And I know that we've spent a lot of money. I think people tend to forget that we've been very fortunate, and for a small district, that our operating budget, primary operating budget, has increased over $4 million in the last 4 or 5 years without an override. You know, we all read newspaper articles and social media posts about what other districts are struggling with, both large and small, across the state. So thank you for your efforts. I do still expect a lot more, as I know you do. I think I've shared this with you privately, and I will say it publicly. In the 12-plus years that I've been working closely with administrators, this is the strongest central office team that I've worked with. So I hope that we can continue to improve and that more folks within the entire school district will understand that change is not an indication that what you're doing is wrong. Change is an indication that what we need to do needs to be better. And that's sometimes a tough message for people to hear. So I will certainly open it up to you if you'd like.
I would just like to say it's an honor to be the superintendent here. We are working hard, and that's a we, and that we goes all the way through the district. The significant changes that you're referring to have taken a lot of effort and planning, putting different structures in place, getting research-based materials and professional development. A shout out goes to our teachers. They're on the ground. They're working with the kids. Everything that we do here in central office is focused around making sure our schools are safe and trying to give our teachers the materials that they need and the support that they need. A turnaround district is a heavy lift. And there have been a number of changes over the last 2 years. Those changes were necessary. They were fast, but they were done in a thoughtful way. And what we are trying to do in the district is to encourage collaboration, two-way communication. Every district is faced with problems, but together, I truly believe this, that we can solve any problem and move ahead. And I'm grateful to be here, and I want to give a shout out to everyone who works hard here every day. There are many wonderful things that happen here every day, and we are blessed. We have community support, we have wonderful teachers, we have administrators, we have, the resources that we need. And it's the change that I think is changing expectations, and they have to be higher in order for us to move ahead. And we have moved the needle, and I'm quite pleased about that. And there is more movement to be had. So thank you very much.
Any other comments from the members? Hearing none, thank you again for your efforts in getting the evaluations done sooner than I think I had originally asked. So, continuing on with the agenda, the next item under old business is acceptance of donations for the graduate lock-in event. Mrs. Gogan. I'm
We
sorry, Dr. Gogan.
We spoke a little bit about that at the last meeting. We had a great lock-in event, the first ever at Bartlett High School this year. I want to thank all of the teachers and administrators who went, and I want to especially give a thank you to Donna Hurton and Gina Nieves for really taking the lead in organizing this. There's a list of people in our community who have given different things, and we want you to accept that list. I'd be happy to read who they are if you would like me to. Mexicali, Bogies, Point Breeze, our cafeteria, Julie Mendilio, Polar Beverages, Amazon, Oriental Trading, Dollar Tree, Ben Jenis, Queen Nails, Webster Choice Barbershop, Worcester Bravehearts, Star Nails, Divine Nails, Book Lovers Gourmet, the Red Sox, Apollo Pizza, Lake Pizza, Chris Robert and Indian Ranch, Showcase Cinemas, Dr. Cushing donated a TV, Adventure Park, and Sky Zone, and the Ecotarium, and Pete's Tire, and the Duck. There were an assortment of prizes, and as we noted in our last meeting a week ago, just about everyone left with something, and that was wonderful.
I don't have the dollar amount. What's the dollar amount?
The total dollar amount is not listed here. The total dollar amount is not
I should
listed.
not have complimented the people that worked on it prior to the...
See, I got a phone, so I got a calculator.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mrs. Pransley, we have to accept it as a total dollar amount, correct? Or is it as presented?
I think we can accept
Okay.
it, because nothing is
Yeah.
of extreme
Okay.
amounts.
Are there any questions or comments from the members?
There's nothing over 250.
Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to accept the donations for the graduate lock-in event as presented.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Laurie, would you pull the committee, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Continuing on with the agenda, next item under new business is approval of McGraw-Hill Study Sync curriculum adoption. Dr. Gogan.
Part of our plan that you've seen over the last 2 years is to build a stronger academic foundation. We, as you know, put in a reading program K to 5, and this past year we piloted Study Sync, which is the ongoing piece from 6th grade to 12th grade for ELA. I am going to ask our curriculum director, Mrs. Daniels, to take it from there.
So under Article 4.1 of the WEA contract, termination of shall be cooperatively joint. That's why I'm here. Approval tonight. About the pilot, all resources, all the teachers, 12. It was pretty amazing. But, you know, for the high school, everything. We also provided teachers program, and they really dealt with I personally met with teachers over the year, talking with them, getting feedback, and that would be for the middle school and Bartlett High School teachers. We also went on 2 site visits. One was at Foxborough Public Schools and the Providence Central High School. Some of the teachers really wanted to see the program in action. It was quite successful. So the results, at the end, I sent a survey out to all the teachers who did the pilot, which included all the ELA teachers, special education teachers, ELL teachers, and I might have missed some other ones, but anyone who was involved in it. And the results of the survey, that 90% of the participants are in the support of the adoption of Study Sync as a new resource. And just to quote, there were many wonderful quotes, but I just chose one to share with you. This person said, "I think the resources in the program will be an excellent way to bolster the units we currently have and maybe possibly even create some new ones in the future." So I look to you for your final approval. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Any questions or comments from the members?
Chair.
Yes.
Were there any concerns from any of the evaluators?
There was some concerns that it was rigorous, you know, it is, and that's what we want.
Good, yeah.
It is a challenging program. I think because it's a blended learning environment where a lot of it is on the web, I think some teachers and even some students might have had trouble adapting to locating the information as you're planning. So there were some concerns, not like majorly negative. So it's a really good resource. It has, like I said, the blended contemporary and classic literature. It's very rigorous for reading routines to instruct students towards mastery. Parts of it does give the students the experience of, if you want to get into the assessment part. And again, I don't want it to be the drive of MCAS, but it mirrors MCAS testing, so they have that same experience. But the resources alone, the stories are great. What I'd like to do moving forward is look into purchasing sets of novels. So kids, I'm a believer of having novels in kids' hands. Some kids like it online, but you know, the beauty of having it right in hand is something that I would like to bring with funds next year. So we'll be doing a lot of curriculum mapping, focusing with the ELA curriculum mapping actually throughout the district to update all that. So good question.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? This may be a dumb question, knowing the thoroughness of our business office, but I assume this is already included in the FY20 budget.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
It's funny you mentioned actual books, because on the news just prior to coming to the meeting, there was actually a story about a recent survey data collection that was done with young students. And it was very evident based on this assessment that using traditional books was far more effective from, like, the ages of 2 to 8 or something than online, so.
I agree with that research.
Hearing no other questions or comments, I will entertain a motion to approve the McGraw-Hill Study Sync curriculum.
So moved.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Laurie, would you pull the committee, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. Next item on the agenda is discussion regarding Webster Educators Association concerns. So I would open it up to our friends to come please join us. And if you could do me a favor, just, I'm not sure if that mic is on. Just turn it on and talk into it, or John yells at me.
Hello?
Yeah.
Actually, you can use that one, and then, yeah, so you have your own. Just push the button and the green light will come on.
Nope.
So the leadership of the Webster Educators Association had reached out to us and had asked for some time at a meeting to discuss some of the concerns, and welcome Mrs. Jeffers and Ms. Millett.
Make it very easy and just read it. But it's very nice to finally be addressing you, since it's been a long time coming. We surveyed our members about their concerns regarding the school system. Two of the concerns that stood out on the survey were safety and communications. Communication with staff and administration is a concern by our members. Staff and administration are not updated on important information in a timely manner and does not seem to be consistent across the 3 schools. When we spoke to leadership of our survey concerns, the result was to circumvent the union and form their own council. There have been many conflicts with the current leadership in regard to complying with the WEA contract. There have been several grievances and labor relations suits because of a lack of communication. The WEA has not had a grievance with leadership for 10 years and have provided ourselves in the constant ongoing communication between all administration and leadership. Several teachers, plus 20 plus paraprofessionals and 3 principals have left the district. It took 3 requests from the MTA to get membership information from central office. A union meeting was attended by leadership and was interrupted by questioning what was being said to our members. And for the first time in 30+ years, the union leaders were not introduced or made part of the opening day agenda. The lack of knowledge of current laws and the contract have resulted in further conflicts, which have involved our members. Examples of this are the attempt to dismiss a teacher with non-professional status without having evaluated the teacher, the use of reduction in force incorrectly, not following current laws regarding the use of evaluations and certifications when making these decisions. Completion of evaluations according to the contract timeline continues to be an issue. Qualified staff have applied for coaching, extracurricular, and contract positions, but outside applicants have been hired. Staff have also not been given interviews for these positions. The contractual transfer policy has not been followed. A transfer request was made, and the principals of the current school and receiving school were in agreement, but it was rejected by leadership. As a result, there were students on IEPs who are not serviced or given MCAS review and did not graduate. The teacher was later granted the transfer. Another concern, huge, that was on our survey is that teachers frequently do not feel safe in their classrooms or schools. ALICE training has not continued enough or reviewed, and there's been a lack of evacuation drills and lockdowns. We received a document, safety protocols and procedures, at the end of the year, and it's very inaccurate. We don't know who is on our crisis team. There are people in the protocol that are not on staff anymore or work in different schools. And many people on this protocol are no longer restraint trained. This year, we have had teachers and other staff members hit or threatened by students. A staff member was severely hurt by a student.
I'm going to stop you there. I don't want to get into any specific details about an individual teacher or student incident.
We are not.
You are, so please do not bring that up. I'm not potentially violating.
Thank you for sanctioning us.
Okay.
Everybody knows anyway. A staff member, there was a transfer of a guidance person to the middle school and her position was not filled. This provided less assistance for the student involved. This also resulted in a lack of assistance with behavior issues at the middle school for several weeks. Person was hired but fired after 1 week. This left no consistency in how behaviors are addressed and a lapse in building a relationship with the students. Also, the return of students from outside school placements who are not ready to be in a school setting have been physical and disruptive to learning. The handling of the consequences of these students' actions has definitely not been consistent or advantageous to improving their behavior. And the last is professional development, which has improved, but it continues to be addressed in a haphazard way. There is a professional development committee, but it's the schedule of professional development that's an issue. Teachers participate in a content PD, but on the same day, many people miss an important district PD because it's at the same time and they are not getting that professional development. And I end with leadership continues to not be present in our schools and a lack of communication continues.
I wasn't sure if you were done, sorry.
Anything? I'm done.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments? Ms.
Chair?
Strangely?
Yes, I have a prepared letter that I would like to read on behalf of the administration team.
Sure.
If possible, and also on behalf of all the administrators signed it, along with Ms. Kathy Barris, who couldn't be here tonight for personal reasons. We are here tonight to voice our support of Dr. Ruth Ann Gogan, Superintendent of Schools. As members of the district leadership team, we can provide firsthand accounts of the high-level work and dedication that Dr. Gogan has brought to Webster. As the superintendent in a turnaround district, Dr. Gogan provides effective leadership, promotes shared responsibility and professional collaboration, supports intentional practices for improving curriculum and instruction, expects student-specific supports and instructions to be accessible for all students, and continues to build positive culture and climate throughout our district. The schools in Webster struggled to maintain and improve academic performance. From the start, Dr. Gogan empowered all of us to do the hard work that is required to be done in a turnaround district. Concerns with attendance, discipline, suspensions, student performance, and engagement already existed in the district prior to her arrival. Dr. Gogan recognized significant areas of need that required immediate attention: curriculum instruction and assessment, school safety, professional development, professional accountability, community outreach, and communication with parents. The district leadership team worked on many occasions to discuss how to effectively utilize staffing and made the necessary changes with the intent to address academic, behavioral, social, emotional needs of students. Understanding the need for additional safety supports, Dr. Gogan brought in ALICE training for all staff and worked with building administrators to create safety protocols and procedures in all buildings. In addition, the district provided risk and threat assessment training as well as safety care training to targeted groups of staff. Another example of Dr. Gogan's drive to educate the community of Webster on safety was when she collaborated with the district safety team made up of members of Mafre Insurance, Boston Children's Hospital, the Webster Police Department, the Webster Fire Department, EMS services, and other community partners to create the first district annual community safety fair that took place here on May 18th. During the event, families were provided with resources and information on increasing safety and the well-being of all children. The district improvement plan, better known as our instructional strategies, calls for an increased accountability and sets high standards and expectations for central office staff, building administrators, teachers, support staff, and students. Dr. Gogan was instrumental in focusing all district leaders of their obligation in fulfilling the WEA contractual agreement honoring the educator's evaluation process. To provide teachers with as much support as possible, the district provided extensive core content materials in multiple disciplines aligned to the Massachusetts frameworks and supported teachers through many hours of professional development. Professional development feedback, along with needs assessment surveys, were conducted, and teachers' feedback drove ongoing professional development. Dr. Gogan insisted on communicating with students, families, school leaders, and members of our town to create system-wide plans to address student and family needs. She reached out to multiple resources in town and in the geographic region to obtain community support. Examples include the new and thriving relationship with Mafre, partnerships with all of our local town resources, and partnerships with U Inc. to provide an in-school counseling program available to our families who could not otherwise access services after school hours. Dr. Gogan's leadership and persistence to effectively communicate with building administrators and outside resources was instrumental in bringing in these vital supports to our students. Data-driven decisions and interventions needed to happen with a higher level of fidelity. Dr. Gogan led the entire educational team with the task of using real data to inform decisions needed to impact student learnings and to keep students and faculty safe. She held everyone to a higher level of accountability while ensuring that these decisions were implemented, reflected upon, and adjusted as needed as a reminder to us that we are here to educate all students. The district leadership team talked about moving some of our support services to areas where parents and students could participate without barriers. Dr. Gogan promoted the piloting of a Title I extended day academic support program offered at North Village Complex. Under the direction of the superintendent and the director of student support services, an ELL Parent Advisory Council was formed and several meetings were conducted at North Village Complex as a way of providing voice and feedback from concerned parents and guardians. A family liaison was also hired to gain critical feedback from families with second language learners to ensure that we reach all families and provide equitable access to all students in Webster. Turnaround work is challenging, and we are here to commend and support Dr. Gogan. We are all being tasked to a higher standard and level of accountability that is needed to achieve success. Thank you. And again, this is on behalf of the principals and the administrative team.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments from the members?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
So I understand that you are taking this role as the union reps to bring these concerns to the committee, as you have the right to do. I think that first and foremost, you're teachers, and schools don't exist to employ teachers. I would be interested in you revisiting the list and presenting it from a student-first perspective. And talk about the students. And talk about what the teachers and staff in our schools can do to make the schools a better place for students. Because it's not always about the teachers, and I'm a teacher. So I'm one of you. But I go to work every day for the student. And if there's a problem, the solution is going to also be student-centered. So I definitely appreciate you bringing these concerns, and they should be addressed. I don't know the timeline of, this was a lot, so I don't know the timeline of when each individual concern was brought to administration and what the response was. So I would encourage that if you're not feeling as though you're getting a response, and it might not always be the response that you want, then revisit it at that time. And just bring solutions. Bring solutions.
Well, I have to say on behalf of our members that it is all about the kids. It's all about the kids every single day. And everything that was said here tonight proves that we're all about the kids. I would just appreciate that you respect our concerns and willingness to solve any problem, because it's not for us. Ultimately, any of these concerns affect students, and that is what it's all about. I totally agree with you. And that's what we are every single day. But it only gets to this point by our members, not by us, by our members, because they're not being heard, because they do care about the kids.
I guess specifically,
But we are not here to evaluate.
so specifically, you brought up the concerns with the process for hiring coaches. And my sense is that that was addressed and that there are new procedures and protocols in place. So that happened, I think, relatively quickly after the concern was noted. And we shared that concern as a committee, and it was addressed. So if there are other concerns that can be addressed in that manner, let's do that. Let's work together.
Absolutely.
Also, Ms. Knapper. Any other questions or comments from the members?
I have one final one.
Sure.
I still, from day one, from being union president and then co-president, I referred to our teachers as the best of the best. And I still refer to them as the best of the best. And I hope to see some of you next spring, because I'm going to be running for school committee. Thank you.
Mr.
Yes.
I just have a few comments to make as well. I first became involved in the district because I volunteered to be a part of the superintendent's search committee because my daughter was going to be coming into the district. And I had great concerns. And, this district has a lot of potential. It is a turnaround district. Change was absolutely and critically necessary in order to bring this district in the direction it needs to go. There's a transitional period that's going on right now. We have a new superintendent. We have new principals in every building. When change happens, it's disruptive. It's disruptive to everybody. It changes the way that you go about your daily tasks. It changes where you get information. It changes your routine. That can be difficult. But if the goal here is to improve, it was communication. Two-way communication was one of the major concerns. Let's do this in a more collaborative way, whether it's being a part of the Educators Council. Instead of viewing it as an opportunity to circumvent a union, if the goal is to educate children and to be cohesive and collaborative, let's collaborate and, you know, move the direction, start paddling in the same direction, because we're not going to get anywhere if we're all paddling in different directions.
Yes.
To that comment, we do have something in the contract that we should be meeting at least 3 times a year with the superintendent, and those meetings have not happened.
Any other questions or comments from the members? Mrs. Gogan? Sorry, Dr. Gogan.
That's okay. I do have one comment. We have met several times throughout the year, and I am definitely open to meeting and collaborating and solving all problems. And I think as we go into the next year, that we should actually schedule 2 meetings a month with the district administrative team so that we can hear firsthand any concerns as they're happening so that we can solve them.
Mr. Chairman, I'm
Yes.
sorry, one final
Go right ahead.
comment.
No, absolutely.
If the concerns that were being brought were new concerns that had just become issues over the last 2 years, I would be more, more worried about the direction we're heading. But there were very few things on there that were issues that have just arisen. The majority of the issues when it comes to attendance, behavior, safety, all of those types of things are the very reason that I'm sitting in the chair that I'm sitting in, because we had a lot of work to do. And I question how realistic it is to expect those changes to occur within a 2-year span, you know? And even, you know, it sounds like the professional development has improved, but the scheduling is an issue. So, I mean, we're heading in the right direction. We're not at perfection yet, but we're working toward it. So just again, I guess, being mindful of that.
Yes, safety has always been an issue. The concern now, it's even worse. And that's why it was brought up again, because it's not getting better, it's getting worse.
Any other questions or comments from the members? Hearing none, again, I thank you for joining us this evening. I think 2 of the members who have joined us are officially retiring in 7 days, 6 days, something like that. I wish you obviously the best retirement. I wish you and all the teachers and the staff in the district hopefully a relaxing and restful summer. And all I ask is that everybody come back to work at the end of August, open-minded and willing to hopefully listen to each other and do what's necessary to continue to improve the district. So again, I thank you for joining us. Continuing on with the agenda, the next item on the agenda is review, transfer, signing of bills, payroll, and vouchers. Ready? Just a quick housekeeping reminder that our next meeting will be July 23rd, as we only meet once in July and August, and that is the fourth Thursday of the month. And with that being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Laurie, would you poll the committee, please?
Yes.
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 Yes, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
They were thinking that it's the 16th and not the 23rd, actually. Kathy, I love you. I love you.